Usually when I get on stage after the film, the first reaction of people is to say, "Oh, he's so old." No, they had an idea about wanting to make the film, and they had an idea about making it with me, and then they invited me to dinner and gave me a lot of wine. And I said, okay. And what attracted me to it, in fact, was the fact that they didn't want to make a documentary about me, because I think documentaries about musicians are generally extremely boring. Certainly back then they were, and what they really wanted was to use me as an excuse to travel around shooting things. As you can see, they succeeded very well in shooting a lot of things that had nothing to do with me. But I was the thing they hung it on. And what impressed me greatly was the fact that they did have the idea that they were improvising. And as filmmakers, the idea that you can see something and be shooting it a few minutes later was heresy in the world of cinema. Normally it takes a couple of hours to set up a shot. And they were able to react very quickly to all kinds of things. And so the material of the film is very improvised, and that was impressive. Of course, after that, nothing is improvised, so there's a whole contradiction involved. But I just came from Paris. I just did 2 nights of residency in Paris at a place called Instant Chaviré, which has been supporting experimental and improvised music for more than 30 years. And they are a wonderful community of people who are very well supported locally. So we had 2 sold out nights. And it's thanks to those kinds of people that we exist. Because we don't have any other resource for us necessarily. So I'm very grateful to be able to do this in the way that we do it and be part of a community rather than just sitting up on a stage and looking down at people. It feels much more productive to me. Thought, but I think with the advent of AI, people are now aware that nothing that you see is real. That the possibility to manipulate what you're looking at is so great that you don't get a sense anymore of what's actually going on. And the film like Step Across the Border is so real when compared to that, because it's black and white and it's not polished and it's not selling you something. So I think people get moved back to that because of where we are now with the technology. The technology has kind of drained us of life. But that's a spontaneous observation which will not stand up to scrutiny.
You want to say something for tonight, this evening's concert, or?
I have no idea what's going on tonight. Talk to me.
It's your turn.
Okay. Yeah, Fred.
Yes.
Very nice that you here in Frankfurt in our festival.
Nice to be here.
Festival. And I have 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
We watched today the movie Step Across the Border, an experimental docu from 1990 about the international impro scene at the end of the 80s and about you. How does the international impro scene change since that time? It's now more than 30 years ago. Is there a big... can you compare it, or is very different?
Already then, I think that I would have to say I don't agree with your premise, because I don't think the film is about the improvising scene in the 80s.
Okay.
A lot of the musicians who are in the film think that there have been different generations, and that the second generation, the first generation was kind of breaking out, and there was a way to do something which involved rejecting what had been before. And then the second generation took that as being, this is what improvised music is. And then, on the other hand, there were people like me who didn't really buy that improvisation had to be no melody, no... And I like improvising with people who don't define themselves as improvisers. And I like working with people who do other things, you know.
Yeah.
But I kind of got the sense today.
This is
The second question. You know the impro scene of the States and Europe very well. You're in both worlds active. Is there a big difference between them, US and
I think that the American improvisation scene is
much more kind of underground because there's no support. So there's very little money, there's very little institutional support for improvised music. In different cities, there may be some at different times. So there's something going on in Seattle, there's something going on in Chicago. You know, it's like that. There are local things happening. But, you know, in Europe, you have this whole system of support, and it's interesting how you go to a festival of improvisation and you'll find that there are a lot of Norwegians and there are a lot of French people, and then you discover that it's because the Norwegian government pays for them to go to the festival, and so it's much more attractive for the promoters of festivals to book people where they don't have to pay for them expenses. So there's a shift towards the countries which subsidize their artists, and I think that Norway and Denmark and Switzerland and other, you know, they support their artists, they put money into it, and so the improvising scene is very well supported and very alive. And in the States, that's not true at all. It's very much, you have to make it happen yourself.
Do you think that the scene is smaller than compare when you...
I just think it's a different way of operating. I don't think one is better than the other. I think that there are great musicians on both sides, and in the end it's all about, you know, getting on with it. Doing what you have to do, building your own community.
Yeah.
Like all of these things. You built a community here, so you know what it's like.
Yeah. Thank you, Frith, that you have been here on our festival. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Christine, you are Lebanese origin?
Yes.
And it said that you have links to the Lebanese improvising scene. Do you think it exists still, or is it? Or did you have it in former times?
No, it still exists. I grew up in France. I was born in France and I grew up in France, but with Lebanese parents and in an area in Paris where there was a lot of Lebanese people from the diaspora, because my parents moved in '75 when the war began. So I was born in Paris, and but I was surrounded by only Lebanese people. I was not seeing French people in Paris.
Okay.
Then I married a Lebanese guy called Sharif Senabi. Hi Sharif, if you see me. And then I went to live in Lebanon with him we were half in Paris, half in Lebanon, and we created the festival Irtijal there. So it was in the 2000 year, and we invited people from all around the world in Lebanon, but at this time there was no musicians of improvisation there. There was only Sharif, me, and Mazen Kerbaj, trumpet, Lebanese trumpet who lives in Berlin now. And we did a festival every year, and slowly there was more and more Lebanese musicians that was with the festival, that we were doing master class and concert, and then a Lebanese scene grew up with the festival. So there was more and more, so I would say we were like 20-25 musicians after 10 years of the festival, and it was the only experimental festival in the Middle East, in Lebanon. So after there was Egyptians and Syrian coming, and that became musicians after. So the festival still exists, but the situation is catastrophic. So all the musicians moved from Lebanon. So there are a few in Berlin, a lot of in Germany actually. They are mostly in Berlin, and there is maybe 2 or 5 musicians left in Lebanon from the scene. So it still exists, but it's complicated every year to continue it with the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it was an international
Yeah.
festival.
Yeah.
in the Middle East area.
Yeah, it was an international festival, but always with the aim to play with the Lebanese scene, and always with a pedagogy aim. So there was master class and
Okay.
And it's a beautiful festival. You have to go there. Everybody has to go there. The audience are really into it, and there is as you may know, the Lebanese are really into party and very, into life. So when you go to a concert in Lebanon, it's not like they're very nice atmosphere and very nice festival.
Yeah, and you're going to plan it next year?
I don't know if it will happen next year.
So
with the situation, it's a bit complicated, and if it happens, it will be the 30th anniversary of the festival.
Okay.
But Sharif is the director, and I spoke to him 2 days ago, and he doesn't know if he will move. Finally, even if he resists and stayed. Now it's too complicated.
Now it's too complicated.
Yeah. So I don't know what will happen.
Yeah. And when will it happen? If it will happen, is it always the same time?
Yeah,
in April.
April.
Okay. Come to improvised music. Start with improvised music.
I started with traditional music from Balkan music, and I was interested in improvising because there are a lot of improvisation in traditional music. So after that, I met some people from jazz music, free jazz music, and very quickly I discovered free improv, and that's my road. I don't know my travel in the music. So yes, but I really quick go fast to experimental free improv music.
Okay.
So I discovered a lot of music at the same time, a lot of musicians were very open mind, and after that I like, since I would say maybe 7 years, I'm focused on improv and experimental stuff.
So you started improvising through different styles.
Yes.
You found around.
Yes, but
just picked it up and.
Yes, but and more I precise my materials and what I like, what I prefer, and what I prefer is to improvise and to share this special moment. Yes.
And you are now focused mainly in the French area? No. Okay. International or?
Yeah.
What is the question?
Si on est très sur la scène française.
So you don't have the impression that there's a special situation in France?
Yeah. If we come to the third question, it's a tricky question actually, because maybe there is as much improvisers that maybe there is much more as much improvisation as improvisers.
Okay.
But if we dig into it, maybe I would say the French scene is traditionally more involved with the body and the expressive improvisation, like Michel Doneda, Joël Léandre, all these people are. It's a work much more like a circle, like a continuous energy that is processing into the music. And whereas the German scene, mostly in Berlin, they are more, for me, they are more working in geometrical shapes, lines, and it's much more the brain that is involved, like instant composition in the space. The French are more like I don't know how to say, but meditative body situation for me. But this is very systematic, and it's trapped to think like a systematic French scene or German scene. I mean, there's a lot of different improvisers
in
scene.
each.
Yeah,
So you
but
can
if
separate.
if you vulgarize and you say what would be a French and what would be a like in Japan, it's much more noise, very abrupt noise, radical noise, and yeah, so there is two kind of improvisation. Maybe that can be French and German, for example.
Okay.
In my experience.
So more intellectual in Germany and more body and soul in France.
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah. And like, for example, in Germany, they love to think about the music.
Yeah.
To think about it, to write about it, to conceptualize the music. In French, in the French scene, I found that it's a bit taboo to think about the music. You just have to play it and feel it, and it's a very taboo to speak about shape, about composition. No, it's improvisation. We just improvise and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit.
So this interview would not happen in France like we do it here. We would dance it.
It's okay because the questions are good, but if you say how do you improvise, how you build a shape, so some people won't answer. I think they would say they are much more interested by the history of improvisation than the philosophical approach of it.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's my opinion, but
okay.
It's very dangerous to speak like this because generalizations
are always very, very dangerous.
Yes, exactly. And for myself, I grew up in France and I'm French, but I don't feel French. I don't feel Lebanese. I don't feel German. I feel German. I feel French. I feel Lebanese. I feel everything, and I feel
everything and nothing, and so on. Yes, okay.
And the multiplicity is better.
Yes, and also that's what is nice also if the improv scene, if that you can meet a lot of people in the world and just play, and I think you can find a way to just to play together and have nothing to say and just playing and have just enjoy it. That's what I like to go in a city where I know nobody and just play session with musicians and you can have nice surprise. So for me, when I saw the question, I said to Christine, wow, I cannot answer to it because, as you said, there is a lot of many improvisers, so many way to improvise in France and in Germany and so you can play with I can play with a French musician with whom I
German style.
Yes, we're a very different approach, and you can find somebody who you are really like, wow, it works very nice together, and it's I don't know in Berlin but Berlin is kind of international scene in a way. There is so many musicians from everywhere. It's nice. It's nice to go there to meet people and to play.
Yeah, but if you systematize the Berlin scene, like I would say, the figure of Berlin scene is Abdelnour for me, and this is very specific improvisation. So there is some musicians that become a school of a kind of school of each city, each country. So there will be, for example, Abdelnour against Michel Doneda, for example, that represent the French, but not all the French. You can have a typology, extreme typology of each. So Abdelnour against Michel Doneda.
They play together, you think?
I don't know.
It could work.
So your approach is more communicative. You just enter a communication and then something develops, and that's the result, the improvisation. Communication in terms of music.
Do you mean in general or
in general, your approach to improvisation?
It's not just communication, it's first of all listening.
Listening, yes. But
Listening,
communication without listening?
Yeah. I would say listening and
for me, improvisation is the only moment, you can say moment in English, where I am in focus on the present. So from improvisation, you are
in the moment.
Yes, in the moment. And,
you don't think about what happened and what will happen. You just.
I think during improvisation, I try less, but I think what I am doing now. Okay. And in the life, I think about the past, about the future. And for me, improvisation, what I like at the very beginning when I start, and that what I try to keep, it's these specific things to be in the present, just be there and focus on what you are doing, what are doing around you, the space, the musician, the other, and it's a way to be in that interaction with other people, which is completely exceptional. Exceptional. It's unique. It's unique.
Yeah, it's unique.
It's not like I say that, and in a way we are talking. It's a kind of improvisation.
Yeah.
But you prepare the question, but it's like we don't know how the things will.
Yeah, but for me, I don't like so much the word improvisation because it's more instant composition, and it's reproducing codes that I have already on my mind. So I'm not really improvising. I have a language, a specific language with codes that I reproduce all the time, at the same time. But my material is very unstable, so it's very difficult to reproduce exactly the same thing. So there's a part of improvisation because it's very difficult to reproduce the instability of a material. But as the German scene, it's not just my body, but it's my brain who is thinking what I will do now, what if I do this sound, what will happen, if I do this. So I think a lot of the shape of the music, and I try to create a new reality through sound parameters. But I have specific parameters that I always work with. So it's a language that
You develop structures.
I develop structures, So I don't like the word improvisation for me. It's not very.
It's not very precise.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I like precision.
Yes, it's not the finality improvisation. Yeah, it's a part of the process, but yes, it's not the finality. We make music.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wie bist du denn zu deinem minimalistischen modularen Musikstil, wenn ich das so nennen darf, gekommen? Das ist eine Verbindung zum Zen-Buddhismus oder
ich habe
eigentlich das entwickelt?
Als Teenager vor allem sehr viel Jazz und Funk und brasilianische Musik gespielt, dann auch neue Musik entdeckt und hatte so einen wahnsinnig breiten Musikgeschmack, breites Interesse und habe auch in sehr vielen Bands mitgespielt, und irgendwann kam dann die Frage, was mir wirklich wichtig ist. Ich war so ein guter Stilfaker, weil ich auch so ein riesen Interesse hatte, und ich habe einfach gemerkt, dass das für mich so leer war. Wir haben mit keiner Band so richtig tief gearbeitet, und ich habe mich versucht zu reduzieren, weniger zu spielen, um mich darauf zu konzentrieren, was mir eigentlich wirklich wichtig ist, wo meine Affinitäten liegen, und das war vor allem Rhythmus, Reduktion auf die Essenz und dann damit zu arbeiten und auch mit Gruppen zu arbeiten, war mir wichtig, also mit Bands lange zu arbeiten. Und das war dann so der Beginn eigentlich auch mit meinen Gruppen, einen Stamm aufzubauen von Leuten, die dann mittlerweile über Jahrzehnte zusammenarbeiten und auf der einen Seite diesen Reduktionismus pflegen, auf der anderen Seite aber ungeheuer virtuos damit umgehen können, weil sie das Material so gut kennen.
Okay.
bei der erfolgreichen Arbeit jetzt und auch die Bekanntheit, die du erreicht hast du für die Zukunft irgendwie, willst du das kontinuierlich weiterentwickeln, das Konzept, oder hast du auch was Neues vor? Oder schwebt dir auch eine Veränderung? Oder
Also die Musik, die entwickelt sich eigentlich so evolutiv ständig weiter. Einerseits durch das wir konstant arbeiten, also wir sind so fokussiert darauf, dass sich automatisch sehr viel entwickelt, weil wir unser eigenes Material immer weiter erforschen. Andererseits kommen auch immer mal wieder neue Leute zu der Gruppe, jetzt unser Bassist hier, Emilie Keller, der einen anderen Background hat, ein bisschen jünger ist, mehr so vom Post-Rock und Indie kommt. Und der hat der Band auch wieder einen anderen Sound gegeben, vor allem in Kombination mit den Drums. Wir haben sehr sorgfältig jemanden Neuen ausgewählt, als der letzte Bassist ausgestiegen ist. Und diese kleinen Veränderungen, die machen sehr viel aus, wenn wir dann regelmäßig in der Schweiz, in Zürich, im Exil jeden Montag spielen. Das heißt, manchmal, wenn man ein Jahr nicht mehr da war, plötzlich hört man diese riesen Veränderung, aber für uns ist das eine wöchentliche Veränderung, die ganz langsam vonstatten geht, aber darum umso tiefer und nachhaltiger funktioniert.
Ja, vielen Dank, Nick, das war interessant.
Vielen Dank, ich freue mich, dass ich dabei sein durfte bei eurem Festival. Ganz herzlichen Dank.
Sana and the Pigeons, you're welcome in Frankfurt. It was very nice that you played in our concert, our F.I.M concert.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for having us.
it was a very nice concert and I liked it very much. So I have some questions about you or American scene. So I want to ask
Controversial.
Yeah. How is today the situation of experimental and improv scene in New York?
How is the scene, experimental scene in New York? Do you have anything to say about it?
It's a very vibrant scene.
Yeah.
It's a very vibrant scene. There's a lot of young musicians, old musicians. There's still musicians from the early downtown scene that are still around and performing in the same communities.
Okay.
So I would say it's a very vibrant community still.
Yeah. Is the scene independent, or is it connected with clubs or stages, or it's?
I think there's certain places that are connected.
Yeah.
We have places in Brooklyn and maybe Manhattan now. At this point, we have the Stone, which is now institutionalized with the
The
new
Stone
school.
is the name of the
the Stone
venue,
which was the John Zorn venue.
There's also this place, Sisters, that took the same model, where they
wow.
give the musicians 100% of the door,
Yeah.
and those places do very well because it's not commercial music, so you need a little bit more support than if you were in a successful pop group. You need ground floor support, and I think relative to other cities in America right now, it's pretty. It doesn't really get better than New York because, and the main reason is it attracts people from all over the world, and other cities don't.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing distinguishing. It's like you meet people from all over the world that come there to try their best, do their best. I came here to do my best. That's a powerful. A lot of people are coming to a certain place for that reason specifically. It pushes you. You never feel like you've arrived. You always have to keep pushing. And I think everyone feels like that a little bit, so I think that's great. Yeah.
It's also people come from the other cities.
Absolutely.
It's like in Germany, like Berlin.
Absolutely. There's
Frankfurt was in the 60s, 70s, 80s the center of jazz, and then a unification. After unification, Berlin gets a big hub, and a very high quality musician went to Berlin. So that's also, Berlin is quite a big scene of improvised music.
Yeah, definitely. I came from Tokyo and I'm staying in New York. I really all of us came from somewhere else, except for Harvey from Jersey.
Yeah, honestly, the majority of people I meet are not from New York originally. And that goes across the arts, not even just music, People come there, like Matt's saying, to do something at the highest level possible.
They get pushed. I mean, it's being pushed. You're constantly. The city itself pushes you all the time.
It's a pressure cooker.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
The pressure cooker.
It's really great.
I think pressure cooker.
If you can handle it, you'll grow so fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Wenn was übrig bleibt. Okay, ciao.
Yeah. Then I have another question. Is it difficult to survive as a musician in the expensive city of New York?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it is, but it isn't, but it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, the rent is expensive for me, and yeah, so I will have to make sure I have enough money to pay the bills and the rent. Yeah, so it is. Yeah, it is. I feel it is difficult. What do you guys think?
It's a very difficult city. It's in a very expensive city, as you're saying. The rents are very high. You know, we were talking earlier about going to the grocery store and everything, how expensive it is there compared to here. It's, you know, and so, and there's very little government support for the arts, specifically for this type of music.
Also the payment for performing is not really good.
Yeah,
it's just that people don't pay. I feel like people don't pay much money for the musicians in the art activities, so that makes it difficult for us to make money in New York City. I wish that's not true, but that's the reality that we're facing.
And how do you get your money? How do you earn your money? With like a teacher, or?
I'm a Broadway musician, so I work full time as a Broadway musician.
Okay,
so it's still
more
music.
Commercial.
It's commercial music. It's commercial art. You know.
I play in like 7 or 8 things, and it all kind of works out barely. But no, I like definitely want twice as much money as I make in a year. But then, you know, the statistic for American musicians, how much the average American musician makes in one single year, 90% make under $10,000. So if 90%, 90%.
I mean, at best, maybe 30,000.
Right, but if you make 30,000,
that would be like
if you make 30,000 a year.
That's very less for Frankfurt, you know.
Very good. Is it good?
30,000 is for Frankfurt, to live in Frankfurt.
It's good, or
no? It's not.
Right. So imagine in New York City.
That's the upper echelon of this music. So even people that you would be like, oh, they're fine, they got it. They got this New York Times article. They have to work at coffee shops.
Right.
It's not enough. There is not enough money. Period. So everyone has like 2 or 3 other hustles, or they're doing like 20 bands, and like it barely works out. But that's you know, that's the pressure cooker thing. I mean, it definitely should be easier. I mean, it's bullshit. You know, sorry.
In a way, it's almost like that's the proof that people really love what they're doing, because to sustain it, they have to almost torture themselves.
Right.
You know?
And no sane person would be like, let me sign up for this.
The reward is the music making experience.
Right, exactly.
And like I teach lessons out of my rehearsal space, and I'm in, like you said, like 20 different bands, and then I do freelance stuff. And I live with 3 people, and I'm 41 years old, so you know, I guess I love it, because what else am I doing?
Yeah,
you know?
You have to love the music and what you're doing, because it sounds very stressful.
Well, I think that's the thing. Is like, if you love it that much, it feels worth it in a twisted way, you know.
And it is just an amazing city to live in for so many reasons. Like, it's funny to even like cite this, but like Queens Night Market, you know, there's just these amazing things. Like, we go to this thing on Saturdays in Queens. I don't know if it's Jackson Heights, but like Jackson Heights is maybe the most diverse neighborhood in the world.
It is the most diverse.
And it's just all these food vendors. Jackson Heights, Queens.
It's an
exactly. It's a neighborhood in the borough of Queens, and it's just, the food is just amazing, and from every part of the world. It's just, you know, you have these moments when you're like, okay, the life experiences I'm having are far worth it, you know, and like other people's experiences are worth it to them, you know, having babies and stuff, you know. But for me, it's eating a bunch of food at the Queens Night Market and playing music with them. So, you know, to each their
we're
own.
on the same page there. That's my whole thing. Not kids.
That's my baby. Yeah.
It depends also on the age.
100%.
100%. Very true.
Yes.
Okay. Then I have a question to you personally. What do you want to express with your music? A lot of your music is composed. In which direction do you want to develop your music in the future? And from which musicians you still influenced?
Okay. So which musician I'm influenced? Not sure, a lot of things. but yeah, with my music, when I write and when I improvise, when I compose, I think that a lot of the time it's about doing something new. Like today when I was just playing, is actually I feel like as a musician I'm in a bit of a transitional place, and where I feel like I'm emptying my mind, and I try to just like see what I want to do. Try to listen to some sounds that I should be playing, but then sometimes I don't wanna. I just want to keep it more open than ever. So that's what I was trying to do today, just on the stage. I usually do stuff like, okay, what am I supposed to play, and what do I think other people will, not like would like to hear, but what I can do so that I can connect with the audience or with the band members. I like to think stuff like that a lot of the time, but this time I wanted to do something, I don't know, different. I just felt like, okay, I did a lot of that, so now I want to do something different. Then what? I didn't know, I couldn't really tell what I really wanted to have as a concept of improvisation today. And that's actually a good thing for me, because then when I don't know, I might find something that's really...
It's more coming from yourself.
From my...
intuitive or...
Yes.
Very intuitions. But then if it's always the same level of the intuitions, it is a little bit like stagnant for me. So I felt like I've been feeling like that. So that's the place where I think I get to grow and open up to the next part of myself as a musician. So I've been kind of living like that all my life up to now. I started playing music when I was 3, so I did a lot of different stuff. And then I've been improvising not so long, maybe like, jazz and stuff, maybe like from 2021 or something, in college. Up till I was doing classical music, and so there was always the place where I don't know what I'm doing in a good way, because it's like I'm in a void where I don't have to decide, or I don't want to judge whatever the idea, but just let things and idea come. But then that level is always different. So today it felt a little bit like more free flow in my mind. I didn't want to really think like, what do people want to hear? How can I connect with people too much? Because then that also feels like a little bit of not really a control, but a little bit one direction. So I just kind of kept things open today. And that's what I like about music. It's about changing, doing different things. Also about being diverse as much as possible as a person. It's not just about genders and races and all that and cultures, but just in terms of being open to all the ideas that are out there. And when we rehearse, because the music is very difficult, there are a lot of different ideas that come in a rehearsal, and sometimes we argue. And that also, I want to think of like arguments and I wouldn't say fight, because we don't really do that, but stuff like that also as an idea. It teaches me to accept different people's perspective, and
you develop the music together, or you compose the music and then you change a little bit with it? Influence of the other, or is it more like this, or do you develop really?
I write music of my own, and I do have a lot of opinions, knowing that it's gonna change though. I like to have my opinions, but then I'll push it, but then when it feels right, I love to change it. So it's gonna be changing all the time, and I think that's how it's supposed to be, because if I decide that one thing should be this way, then that's it, what do we do? So we talk a lot, and there'll be a lot of, and it's not a fast process, but it doesn't need to be, there's enough time. So we do take time, and we discuss, and then we argue sometimes, and then we just keep doing it. We sometimes we argue and we apologize to each other. Sorry for saying that, or whatever. But these guys are cool, I think, enough. And I think that we're cool. And so I appreciate that process, that the space and team membership that we have enough trust with each other, that sometimes we fuck things up, and then it's okay. We support each other. And so this whole thing about music is teaching me about how to exist in a society, because that's how it's supposed to be, right? In this world, if we want to create the world where people, different people can be together, then we need to be able to discuss things and take time and, you know, forgive self and others and accept different parts of ourselves. And this music is written with all the different parts and the polyrhythms, because I thought about that. Everybody's different. Like men and women are different, and they're different kind of, you know, they're all the people in the middle, you know, bisexuals and all these people, and everybody's different, and then we have to create the world where everybody is happy enough, you know, happy, and everybody can express themselves the way they really want. So there will be a lot of adjustments that we have to make, and I think that's how it's supposed to be. We're rushing through things too much, and we don't have time to really understand other people and to empathize with other people. And this music is so difficult in terms of the rhythms that we're forced to listen to each other, and listen to each other's like energy. Like I was just really have to pay attention to Danny's tempo and speed. And sometimes we go fast and slow, but then sometimes we like it, sometimes it's too much, and then that's the part we have to kind of stop and have a conversation. But then we should, because everybody's expression is so important. Everybody's difference is very important. I think we have to enjoy it rather than saying that we have to be this way or that way, or you should be this way or that way. And I want the world to be better. You know, I want the people to get along in a way, you know, without changing who they are too much. So as an artist, I wanted to always express that sort of stuff. I'm not really a political person, but as an artist, there's something that I can do to promote expressions, the true individual expressions, and, you know, I want everybody to be who they are, the way they want. I want everybody to be happy. So as an artist, what can I do? I thought about it, and I write music like this, and I try to do band like this, and I improvise, you know, and try to be open and grow every day. So that's my thing about music. Anybody else want something to add to it?
Yeah, I think it's intuitive what Sana's. I mean, she gives us the scores and then we work through it. So it is definitely from Sana's mind, but I think it's intuitive energy. It's not there's no concept before she writes it. It feels like in the midst of the piece, it's like this thread that's going like this in a very, even though it's very tight and controlled, it's loose energy. We control the energy like unto itself, but the actual energy is loose. It's kind of like fluid, even though it's tight. So I think the contradiction of having tight music with improv and fluid energy is like the balance of those things. Because if it's, that's what she's saying, if it's only one thing, we're bored. It can't just be defined too rigidly, or it's boring, you know.
Yeah, there's like a Rorschach sort of element to it. Of like, you know, yes, it is what it is, and you could argue that it's finite in the notes on the page and where they are and what they are, but you could envision so much within that and perceive that in so many different ways. And I think kind of getting to what Sana's saying, like, I think one thing that's special about this project is, yeah, we're looking at this, and as specific as it is, we're interpreting it in totally different ways. And certainly as a drummer, you know, even when you're playing in a project where you're not necessarily supposed to be improvising all the time, you're embellishing all the time. Even when someone says play a basic eighth note backbeat, the way you do that is creative and different to different people, and even the concept of a feel just kind of means how much space do you put in between these eighth notes. You know, you could three people could be right, but they sound totally different. So, you know, already that element is there, and then with Sana as band leader, you know, she's open to these interpretations and these different ideas. So we'll, you know, get comfortable with what's written, and then we'll start to interpret it our different ways, and we end up taking a lot of that and using it, you know, and Sana will be like, yeah, like, you know, maybe you're playing something that's different than the part, but I like what you're playing, or it's serving whatever else is going on, or so, you know, certainly as someone who's played with a lot of composers that write really difficult music, in many cases they're very rigid with it, and it's very just, you tell me exactly what to do, and that's fine. And it's like I like the process of having to like rise to that occasion and be a human robot or whatever. But but it's cool just to be able to add my take to something and have that be embraced, and and I think there's just and there's just different influences. I think when you embrace that too, like a band should embrace the influences that each member has, and as long as they're not compromising the ultimate vision in some way, then it's like I as someone that writes music myself, it's like I think sometimes something comes from someone interpreting your music that you never could have envisioned, and in some cases I think for music that has a lot of improvisation, we've talked about this a lot, where you're writing it for the person who's going to be interpreting it. You're writing it because this person that's going to play it their way is going to do all these extra things with it, and you just know it's going to be good. You trust that it's going to be good. You're like, if I give them this, the stuff they'll do with it is going to be amazing, And so personally, I can only really get inspired to write music when I know exactly who the group is and what they can do, and I go, oh, what can I give them that's just going to take off, So I sense that a lot with Sana's music, and I think, again, we have to work on it so much because it's so damn hard that we end up really, building a strong foundation, which I think a lot of people in this genre, there's like a lot of changeover, there's a lot of, I get it, you want to work with a lot of different people, but it's sometimes people don't form these like cohesive units as much as they I think should,
It's a luxury to have a band in New York City, meaning 4 members that can be consistent enough to show up to a rehearsal, to show up to a gig, because as you was saying, or you're in 10 different bands, or I'm running around to a Broadway musical all the time, it's like it gets very much a juggling act. So to show up to be in a band is a luxury. To have 4 people like show up every week to a rehearsal, it's not the common thing in New York City.
Okay.
Especially in this scenario where it's demanding to have a lot of rehearsal.
Yeah, we're all so busy. It's like it's we make the time, but it's hard to make the time.
Okay.
Yeah, it is hard.
When you have so much groups,
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's the
thing.
Appointment
That's the
would be difficult.
Yeah.
And do you have a room or a rehearsal?
Yeah, we have a studio.
Yeah, I have a space, and Matt has a space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting. I think all is diverse, with the musicians and what they bring,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could be very different if you write the same thing and this musician plays this and the other. It's so you see in the festival, all is a different expression. So it's nice that you make more a group work.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Not only.
And then part of that too is like Sana writes stuff that I've never heard before in terms of the rhythm. Like I literally I don't have any precedent for knowing what it is, and I think Danny and Harvey are in a similar boat. So what it really requires is very clear communication in speech. Like that's more what it requires. We are capable of playing it, but to understand it, that requires deep communication, and that's like more deeper communication than you have with family and friends sometimes, because the way you have to communicate is uber clear. If there's one word that's not right, now I don't understand.
Changes everything.
It's more about communication than technique in a way. And that's something I wanted to just put on the table, because I think that's what makes it work, is the communication. Yeah.
Okay, then I thank you very much that you came.
Thank you.
It was very nice, and then maybe see you another time.
Hope so. This is really great.